Morse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Probably two days, so that's what. I
Sir.
would have that on Friday, basically from 8 to 12.
8 to 12?
I mean, I just put, I blocked that, so I won't put anything else in.
All right.
If you find out from Carl, he wants one in the afternoon or something, that's fine too, but.
That's
Or he-
fine.
I don't think he's a 7 o'clock morning person, but if
No.
he is, that's okay with me too.
Thank you.
Okay.
All week. Everybody in Paris got sick. Some didn't even live there. Bring him in, have no service. Cases from Redmond area. He treated two of them. They had suicidal every minute.
Are you about ready, Mike?
Yes, sir.
All right. Call meeting order. Public comment.
Good morning. I've got a small, it's an old subject. It deals with the audit and that note in the audit where the auditors inaccurately reported that Mr. D. Bergen had paid the $100,000 for the purchase of the ambulance, and everybody sitting here knows he didn't. There's several things that still needs to be fixed. And I don't know where you're standing on getting the auditors to look at it, but you know, if he didn't pay it, and he needs to be issued a 1099 for $100,000 income. Because obviously that's income because he wasn't out the $100,000. And the history of the county needs fixed to annotate that it was not paid. And when you owe a debt to the county, this is for, you know, maybe 10, 12, 14, 16 years in the future, but the electoral code, if you're in arrears and a debt to the public body you're trying to get elected to, you're not eligible for office. It doesn't say if they quit trying to collect on the debt that you owe, but if you're in arrears to a debt, he will forever be in arrears to a debt to the county. That's why it's so important to get that audit fixed. Because I would hate to see a person.
Yes.
Okay, number one, the audit company, and I talked to them on Friday, by the way, because you checked with me
Yeah,
sometime.
like Tuesday or Wednesday.
The audit firm cannot correct it because they no longer exist and are not licensed in the state of Illinois, so they cannot touch the audit. Okay? Number two, Joe's gonna look into what he thinks they might be able to do, but they cannot correct that audit. They may be able to come in and say on another audit, but he doesn't know that.
That's fine, as long as it's annotated somewhere that was an incorrect.
Well, and the other thing he's concerned about is adjudication. They are making a legal judgment that they may not have all the facts of. And they would be inserting themselves into, so he had to talk to their legal department to find, or their attorney, they don't have a department, to find out what they can say and what they can't say. It is not, I know seems like it's just
I know.
Black and
I
white
understand
cut-
their point of view, yeah.
and see, they're now going in and making a comment that maybe has some legal standing that, so they weren't around or as a firm dealing with this to start with, so
Well, I mean,
I'm just
I
telling
understand
you
what you're
about the
saying,
issues.
I'm trying to think, you know, could you ask the state's attorney to have somebody look into the legality of the note 12 in that audit and have the state's attorney file a civil suit or whatever to get it changed or fixed?
Haven't we already done that? And the state's attorney I forget what he said at this point, but
No, state's attorney looked into it and said it's been paid.
No, he said it was never due, it was never intended to be collected, that's what he said.
okay, but whatever. You see how
Yeah.
we're asking a professional organization
Right.
to take a stand that nobody else will take. And they didn't have a dog in the hunt to start with. You see what I'm saying? keep trying. I mean, I have not. So at any rate, I wanted to let you know that based on that I did have a conversation, because Joe had come back with some other stuff that we needed to know, so. At any rate.
I understand your point of view, and I understand.
Oh, it's not my point of view.
The
I
new
mean-
auditor's point of view,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to say something and get in it. so.
Right, so we'll try to get it resolved, okay?
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm done, thanks.
My comment is in reference to the airport, and talked to Jeff. I understand the new chairman's gonna get a hold of us to get some clarification on some issues. For those that don't know, the airport manager lied on his application, claimed to have credentials that he doesn't have. The other concern, we know for a fact, he has been flying people. He is not licensed to fly. He's been taking his girlfriend flying regularly. He's also been giving flight instructions to another individual, not with another pilot with him, himself. And if he's going, and he acknowledged that he's getting flight lessons, he doesn't have insurance to our knowledge. If he's gonna be giving flight lessons out of the airport with all that's gone on in the past, I think he has to meet the same requirements of carrying insurance to do that out there. But the fact that he lied on his application should concern everybody. That's all I have.
Any other public comment?
My name is Robert Bogue, and I'd like to talk about the airport again. So the last airport committee meeting where the advisory board was basically re-implemented, I went over some of the history. And as I was listening to Kirk's comments, I was thinking, you know, Kirk is right. I came before the county board a number of times to talk about the performance of the advisory board and the airport manager. And nothing really happened. And it just seems like what we have is a rerun of what didn't happen before is probably not going to happen now. I think of the grant application where they said there's 35 airplanes. I recall at the airport when I was there, I didn't see a single plane. I was there for 2 hours, not a single plane went by. And there's one parked outside, and that isn't operable. You mentioned there's only 16 hangar spots. I haven't been through all the hangar spots, but I would be surprised if there's airplanes in every one of them. So you don't have 35 airplanes. You never had 35 airplanes. You talk about the fuel, the 10,000 gallon Jet A fuel tank, and there's only one 10,000 gallon tank at the airport, and it is full of Jet A fuel tank, and I can document that back in 2009. There's no question that that was a lie also. So we're talking about lying on a grant application, and you folks have agreed at one point to fix that, but you haven't. You know, you talk about the history and where the airport board banned Rusty's wife from breastfeeding their daughter. Ben, you were there. They have blocked hangars. They plotted to lock him out of his business. They've refused to accept rental payments, and even the county board had to force Mr. Wells to take the rental payments. They jockeyed around where the snowplow should be parked inside the hangar, which it never should have been there to start with. Demanded a new lease, and that was a big deal. Everybody was upset about leases and canceling leases and getting it right, and Rusty spent a lot of time with you folks. Never gave a lease. Then talked briefly on Tuesday night about the Airport Advisory Board chairperson, Donna Bennett, throwing Rusty's diplomas on the floor. Nothing happened. You guys all know this stuff. It all took place. Nothing happened. I didn't talk about the Patrick thing, but I'm tired of talking about him. I think the firebombing at the airport, I mentioned on Tuesday night, it's local talent at work. You know, it's more suspicious and underhanded activity at the airport. I'd like for this board to say, hey, if we really want to clean this mess up, we got to start at the beginning and do a good job. I don't think keeping your present airport manager is a good idea. I think we should just say, hey, let's own up to it. I'd also like to see the county board own up to the fact that the grant application is full of lies. And as I said, I was assured by Jeff Voigt and Carl Farnham, they would take the lies out of the application. Hasn't happened. You changed the story to, well,
No, that isn't what you asked me to do.
you said you would do that.
I said I would. I said I would go to the state and find out what they wanted to do. I then told you wouldn't be happy with it no matter what they did. The state told us everything was fine, and you read the email and the letters. At that point, we had done everything we'd asked, and you still weren't happy.
No, Jeff.
That is the actual facts.
Jeff, you are wrong. You told me, you talked to Mark Isif, and you were directed to take the lies out of the grant. That's what you told me on the phone.
That's never what I said to you.
Well, obviously you haven't done it.
I told you exactly what I was going to do. We did exactly
What
what
did
it
you
was
say
in the
again?
newspaper.
No, you said
We go to the
you had
state-
talked to the state's attorney, and he asked you, and you and Carl were gonna take the lies out of the grant, and the next time we talked, you said, hey, I talked to IDOT, it doesn't matter. But they're still lies. Anybody here want to dispute the fact that there's 35 airplanes at the airport? Does any board member want to say, no, there's really 10,000 gallons Jet A fuel tank out there, or is it an aviation avgas? I'm just saying as a
I'll give
citizen,
you one more minute, since Jeff
thank
was
you, I
participating.
appreciate
Sorry.
that. Guys, I'm saying if you want to clean the mess up, you got an opportunity to do it. If you keep on going down this road, it won't go away. That's what I would like you to do, is just take a break, think about it, say, you know, there really aren't 35 airplanes, the fuel tank isn't right, let's just quit telling these stories, and let the chips fall where they're gonna move forward. Same thing applies for the manager.
The mess, basically, the mess has been cleaned up out there. Jim Well is gone, the advisory committee's gone. We have a new manager, we have a new advisory committee that I think has 4 good people on it. We're making progress. That's my point. I worked with Rusty for 6 or 8 months. We sat down at the table, we worked everything that we thought needed to happen out there. Basically, now it's happened. So I think it's water under the bridge.
Not all of it.
Well,
You haven't fixed the
90%
grant,
of it has.
you haven't fixed the grant, but you have made some good progress. And the airport manager thing is a simple yes or no. Let's just get rid of these problems and move on. Thank you for the extra time.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Do I still have time left?
Go ahead. Alan, you got a report?
Basically on, we passed the health insurance programs on special meeting. Our next thing, of course, will be property and casualty coming up here with the month. I think they sent a email to Augie detailing again their calendar for that and what's taking place there. Also, just as a follow-up, we talked a little bit about the high power lines, the tension lines and stuff like that. I've tried to talk to several people, and I cannot find anybody who knows who's really in charge of that. That was something Jack Hoffman had brought up, and I got back with him in talking to, basically, also sent it into our United Counties, one of our groups that we're a part of. I've not received anything back from them, so that's it, kind of from the subdivision and from the insurance part anyway.
So what's the increase that's gonna go to the employees? Do we have any idea?
Overall, that's something we have to discuss about as a full board. Overall, it's about a 7.7 increase.
Have we decided that, Alan, that's gonna go entirely to the employees?
No, that's
That's
when he
what-
said to the employees.
Yeah.
I can't say that. All we know is what the
It's a
increase,
7% total.
about 7.7 in general, but as Jeff will tell you, hopefully it's a little less than that from a countywide perspective of what it's actually gonna cost us. But the question remains like last time, and that's getting more into the finance aspect of it, of what we wanna do as a board. If we want to pass along that, or like we did last year, we said, here's the amount of the increase. We did add another program that employees are able to take. We had a $500 before, I think, and a $1,500 before. We put a $1,000 deductible in for this one. So then now there are 5 possible plans. Diamond Brothers, Bushu also said all those 5 plans are good underneath the Affordable Care Act. So any of those are okay, that will cover us there. It's just a question now that we need to talk about as a board, if we're going to try to take over that and the increases, And if we do take over the increases, to make sure either everybody realizes that's a part of any increase that may be a salary part, or is it not? Or do we want to take over any part of it? That's totally a board decision.
Well,
When-
7% is about normal for all the insurance companies. That's what my wife's went up, it's what mine went up,
Right.
basically, so it's, that's not outlandish.
When do we have to make that decision
On,
on whether we're gonna give them a percentage, whether we're gonna pay a percentage? What, Jeff?
The finance committee is going to meet later on this week and start dealing with those issues.
Okay.
And that will affect the budget and will bring a recommendation hopefully to the October meeting, let you know what's going on, or the study session, so that we can start dealing with those issues.
I mean, it's not taxable. My thing is, what I'm saying is, if we took, say, 4% of it and let them pay the rest of it, that there goes their 3% raise. I mean, I know that's all gonna be discussed, but
Like last year, we ate it for the first go-round.
what we amounted to last year is we said we have this amount of money, that we all decided we're gonna put this toward where we wanna put it. If you don't have insurance, you get it. If you wanna put it toward this insurance plan, you get it, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like $30 a month. We said, okay, this is gonna be it. Now, then in the end, after that, we went back to the department heads and said, that is what we're considering as also part of a raise. In addition, then we also gave, I forget, whatever else, I'll give you
It
a
added
better,
up to, yeah.
a different amount
Right.
that they could add on top of that, if the department head so chose. I imagine most of them did, but that type of thing. So that's the issue, it's not so much eating it, it's like that health insurance now is so large, in my opinion, that has to be a part of the total project, the total plan, the total benefit package that you're receiving.
and this is just good for a year, and
Yes.
you can't get them to commit to 5 years or 3 years.
Most of them won't because there's so much fluctuation that pays, and also whether or not, you have a regional amount, you have the average amount throughout the nation. You get that automatically. Then you have how much your individual group is spending, based on how many people and how much we're paying in. Then you have a regional or geographical component also. And actually, we hit about 2.7 on that. We get another little extra grind just because where we live. So all those things are factored into that.
You have somebody
Right, and then it's
has cancer or
adjusted.
something in that period of time, insurance company doesn't want to eat all that money that they're paying out for the medical expenses, so I can see the point.
anything else?
Yes.
Go ahead on it.
Yes. A couple things. There are employees asking what the board is going to do because they saw an article in the paper and there's some confusion amongst the people. And also Billy Ann is going to be out the rest of this week, starting tomorrow. And however, as quick as you can, be able to let the people know what plans we have available and what it's gonna cost. That's what we need.
Okay, what plans we have available, you guys already know. I
Well, we know
assume
what
she already
plans,
started
but
that
we
out
don't know
there.
we don't know what they're gonna cost.
But because one of the reasons we had that was early, is so they'd have the whole month of September as a,
What we did
Sign.
last year, Augie,
I know what we did
we're
last
gonna have to do the same thing this year.
All right.
There's just no
And that-
way around
that-
it because we lost that couple weeks. There's just no physical way to do it unless you're not gonna get a correct billing in October
I know
anyway.
that.
So you're gonna be behind the 8 ball anyway.
All right. So what do you,
so
when
they
ask
don't
us
have
what it's
that.
gonna cost? What do I
Well,
tell them?
The PP, well,
What do I tell them?
the-
Whatever it is? You don't have you haven't made a decision.
No, but this is, so we haven't given them all those
Nobody has
plans because
anything
it's
yet.
open enrollment. That's one reason we had that meeting. So we have an open enrollment all through the month of
What
September.
he's
But they're not
saying-
going to pick
They want all
that
the
plan
money.
because they don't know what the price is gonna be.
the PPO 500, for example,
I
is,
understand that, but
and it's increased a certain amount. So they don't know whether to switch plans or keep it the
That's the
same.
whole thing.
whatever they would give, or whatever they would get though, is going to be based upon what they think that plan is, and you're saying their total amount of thought on their plan would be how much that plan would be.
That affects it everything. They don't know whether to go to a PPO or an HSA, depending upon how much the board is going to assess them.
Okay, did we get all those plans
No.
out to all the people yet, though?
No,
Okay, can we get all the plans out to the people
yes.
and make sure they know what those plans are? So whenever they do find out, they'll know what they are?
All right.
Because I thought those plans were already, quite honestly, in all employees' hands. Because that was the whole plan of approving it, the whole idea of approving it last Thursday or whenever, was to get it out in their hands. Then I can understand if what you're saying, then I can understand their thought, like, okay, now wait a minute, which one? But by giving them the plans at least, I feel that would at least let them see, okay, what are these plans? You know, so they know, you know, if I have to choose between the 500, the 1,000, or 1,500, or if I want to do, you know, the PPO, what it's going to be, and kind of what it's going to, you know, what the plan really involves.
So you're saying give them the plans, but don't give them the
Well,
premium?
no, I want to give
all
them,
that?
I want to give them
Everything.
everything that they can get. I understand now what Augie's saying,
Yeah, I
they're
do too.
looking at that,
Right.
but I just assume they get those plans so they can at least,
Right.
once they know if the county board's giving them nothing, or if the county board's absorbing it all,
Well, they're
or
gonna
if the
see-
county board's paying a part of it,
Right.
they'll know that too, but more often than that, they'll also be able to see the exact plans and see how that will impact them once they know that money.
I put a comment to the fact that this is what the plan costs, but this may not be what you have to pay out of pocket.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, I want them to see the
See,
plans.
no matter what, they're still gonna get double whammied,
I understand.
because we're paying in October or in September for October.
Right.
So whatever we decide, may I make a suggestion that the committee's gonna meet, we could have a special meeting after the next, study session and make a recommendation to the board at that time.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I'm worried about what
Everything
Augie's
still
saying now.
needs to get out.
Yeah, I'm worried about what Augie's saying now, that doesn't give them, I guess, hindsight. That's why I wanted that really, I would have loved for that to have been able to have been figured out.
And we could have if we'd had it a
If
couple
we'd
of
had all
weeks
of our
earlier.
information, well, if we'd had all our financial information too.
Right, we didn't have any of it
No, but I
until
mean-
last week.
Right. If we'd have been able to have projections ahead of time on, here's roughly what we think we can do and not, I mean, that's hindsight. Because what's gonna happen now, if we wait till that second study session, yeah, we've given them all the information, but we really haven't given them, which was our goal, kind of all of September,
But they're gonna have to pay.
to have that open enrollment. I mean, we have if they wanna pick it, but from what you're saying, all you at least think, some people wanna say, what are we gonna do?
That's what I'm
With it.
hearing. They just wanna know, what's it gonna cost me?
Yeah.
And it does make a difference which plan.
On each one, right, and that's what, but I want them to see, I mean, that was our point also, was so that they could see all the plans.
Okay.
I mean, and hopefully, Kirk, Bushy said that they were getting that, and Kirk said he was gonna go turn that
Nobody has
into.
told us anything about anything. Send it
And
out.
Kirk said whenever he left that meeting, that I thought he was gonna be back in touch with Billy Ann, so that Blue Cross Blue Shield would get that information to them. So if you could, or Billy Ann's still there today,
I've got to
contact whoever we have to contact, so we can get all that to those employees, so at least they know what those plans look like.
Last year, didn't we have a plan that we paid all of it,
Yes,
if they
Yeah.
chose to take it?
yes.
And we
And
have
I-
a plan available this year that's just exactly like that.
It should.
Is
Yes.
that correct?
I think we're basically looking, the PPO is gonna cost them something, and the basic plan isn't.
Right.
That's pretty much where we're probably gonna wind up, but, I mean, I'm only one person.
So you're,
Good question, whoever brought it up, or August.
That's all I have on
Right.
insurance.
so you're planning to have a meeting at the finance committee?
Yeah, we were planning that anyway, and what we can do is make that a top priority of the meeting,
Okay.
is a recommendation to the full board how we're gonna handle that, because we need to figure out what we're gonna do on increases anyway.
Right.
So that's part of the increase, Okay?
Exactly.
Or may be part of the increase, okay?
Do you have anything else, Alan?
No, and, I know it'd be just another meeting. I'm not too sure this isn't important enough for our employees to come back that week before that.
Oh, we can.
I'm just thinking out loud here, Jeff. I mean, and possibly, you know, possibly come back, and I don't know whether that would be
Like the
bad, good, or
16th
like
or
the
17th?
16th, or, yeah, like on that next Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know how many people would be interested in like a special board meeting there, but then that at least would give our employees over like half a month to have that an open enrollment, and also have an idea of what, if any, the board is planning on putting toward each one of those plans. Anyway, food for thought. I guess we can talk more about this on Wednesday too, but once you said that,
Just let me know and I'll post it.
yeah. I think that's all.
Okay, Mike,
No, sir, I don't have anything.
Dan?
Not much. I was out at the animal shelter last Friday, talked to Andrew a little bit, and Linda, and everything's going good. We still don't have security system up. Maybe I need to go talk to Ross again. She mentioned something about there was a virus infection going around with dogs in the shelter, so she's been treating those with antibiotics. And there was a guy came in and adopted a dog when I sat there, so. One thing, Dale mentioned that maybe she needs to post on the door when she's out doing something, because he stayed out the other day and nobody was
No,
there.
I
so.
don't think, they don't do that. They used to.
They do sometimes they don't. She was out last week picking up a dead dog somewhere, so maybe that's where she was. So I'll remind her to do that and leave her phone number or somebody. Other than that, we're doing good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Dale?
The health department, Jerica's out on sick leave, so she couldn't take the test on the 3rd of September. Hopes to be back and able to take it the first part of October. Petco's having an enterprise zone meeting Wednesday, and Ben and I are going to attend that.
Can I ask what general thoughts are, or didn't they also ask, or was it the city asked, who was it asking for money to
They
be a
wanted
part of the
$2,500.
consortium,
Mhm.
and sort of speak
It's part of the grant application
for that?
for the enterprise zone.
So that would be doing the prelims for the enterprise zone,
Right.
and that would be county where? Or I've kind of forgotten, no big deal if you can't remember.
Well, that's one part of the meeting, get everybody together, Wednesday, and update where we're at. Hopefully the enterprise zone will include the airport. And going up to Crispin, well, the first thought was you couldn't go into Crispin, but we've been told they can go into Crispin. And it ties in with Paris also. You can overlap the TIF district, so that might be a possibility. So I can't give you the defined
No, that
borders
you
of
answered
it
my
at this
question.
time.
You answered my
Is
question.
that a public meeting?
Uh,
Could you find out and let us know?
Okay.
Because the enterprise zones are flops. They're no good.
I'll find out.
Anything else? Yeah?
Current year budget, FY 14, we've got 83.3% of the year gone. You can see we're at 81.52%. We've got one more payroll coming out. We are gonna be close. A letter's gonna go out to the department heads and elected officials saying if you need it, obviously you need it, but please watch your expenditures for the last 2 months of the year. Hopefully we'll go into the year with, or the end of the year with a surplus. We're planning on it. A lot depends on when we get funds, but we should be okay. Income is doing fine. We are not counting anything of that mass transit money, although it's sitting in the account. We're not figuring anything on that at this point. That's just kind of sitting there because we have not found out anything from our state's attorney on that issue. He was supposed to be in contact with the state CPA investigator, and I assume we'll hear something about that later on this week. As far as the budget, FY 15, the committee has copy of it. We're gonna be meeting, probably Friday morning, Augie. So if you were available, we're looking at Friday morning. I've gotta get with Carl to find out exactly when he is available and make sure he's available. Everybody obviously is invited. As far as the board, we normally have a good turnout on that. I will email you guys copies of the budget. I only had 3 today, so I'll make sure the rest of you get it, so you know what we're dealing with. The sheriff had a surgery this morning to replace 1 or 2 legs, or knees. And I'm gonna be going to his house on Thursday to go over his budget, and so we'll at least have some input on that. Again, I've already talked to him a little bit. We've made some adjustments. We'll also be meeting with Sandy, Monty, and a couple other departments, but pretty much everybody's in line and doing the right thing on the budget that you will get for FY15. Any questions about that? And obviously, we're gonna be dealing with the budget as far as increases and how we're gonna handle those, and that directly affects the insurance. So we'll be able to produce something and come up with a general recommendation for the full board.
So you think Friday date, correct?
Well, that's what we're thinking, Friday you made it correctly, tentatively. We wanna have it as early as we can so that Dan can be there if he would like to be, so. Let's see, airport, we had an airport advisory board meeting last Tuesday night. It was well attended. I thought it was a productive meeting. So they've got an agenda set up for this evening. There's gonna be another meeting tonight at 6:30, dealing with some of the issues that need to be dealt with. And I thought it was well received and thought it was a pretty good meeting. A couple of you were there, Mike, do you have
Yes.
any comments?
Dan, you was, weren't you?
Yeah, sitting next to you.
You guys were quiet too.
I think I went to sleep. I
Yes,
think
you
it was
did.
so-
I think you did. Snored too. I thought it was good.
Yes, so, and, chairman's elected, Joe Shiner's the chairman, and Jake Barrett is the vice chairman. And thought it went well, so onward and upward.
I think you might mention too, I think, and I want to make sure everybody here knows that we had a committee meeting.
Oh, yes.
And
Please.
we can't really talk about it because most of it was closed session, but it was some interesting things at that meeting that came up, so. I don't know, Ben was there, I was there, Jeff was there, I don't think Dan was there, and I don't think Alan was there.
Dale was there.
Dale was there, yeah, I remember Dale. Yeah. So we'll fill the rest of you guys in on what the attorneys had to say.
Any other questions? I think that's it, Mr. Chairman.
One question I've got, you remember that bill from McGuire? What's the status on that?
The check's cut, we're waiting for approval.
Okay.
I made a comment on that.
Yeah.
I talked to Sheriff Motley, and he was supposed to get a hold of McGuire and find out if that's the final bill. And according to him, it is the final bill, so I took it upon myself to have it resubmitted for payment, so
Okay.
that's how much input I have.
Okay. The check has not been sent.
No one has informed me to make that an agenda item.
I was gonna say.
Well, it could be, it's,
I'm just telling you, it was,
I
but
thought, I don't know whether it's tabled or what.
it was last month, and I
It has to be on
just,
the agenda. to
no
stay.
one's mentioned it to me, so.
we may have to put that on a special meeting then. to do
It wasn't tabled, it was just
Just
voted down.
voted down.
It's voted down.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So we're gonna vote again Wednesday, but you say it's not on the agenda.
It's just, it's a bill presented, right? I mean, like all the rest of the bill presented.
It was separately scheduled last month.
I did that for everybody else.
I understand that, and it was voted down, and no one made any comment as far as doing anything with it, as far as running it through the regular course of bills, claims, or putting it on the agenda.
Would it normally be on the regular bills?
Well, it was last month. Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was, yeah, I don't know what it was. It was a separate item, I know
Yeah.
that, but I don't know whether it was also on the sheet that we get on bills. It may have been, I don't know where it's assigned to a department.
I don't think that's why we did it separately, because then you would have approved it when you approved the claims.
Right.
It was,
So,
So it's too late to put it on the agenda.
yes, it is. It's already been posted.
So if we have a special meeting on the other things.
Well,
we can-
it's also
It's a
pay-
housekeeping
It's
item.
it's a pay bill.
Right.
I mean, you and I could sign off on that
Is there
if we
any,
wanted
If you want to
to.
make it
our
a
crack
demand,
attorney
Yeah,
here?
it's a demand check. I mean, it's a bill that we owe
Right.
that's already been budgeted. I mean,
I don't see why that would be on the agenda.
well, I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't, I'm just
I'm
talking
not
out
saying it
loud.
has to be, I'm just
Oh,
telling you the
That's
way
what
it was,
That's a good point, Augie.
and that no one has given me direction.
We gave you direction, we voted no.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Right.
And
That's
it's,
correct.
We
it's
voted
in,
no,
That's
so.
exactly right.
it's in last month's board file.
Right.
Okay. What can you do if we pay it? What can we do if we pay it without going through the board? I mean, can we be sued or what? What I'm saying is pay the bill.
It's a bill, honestly, in my opinion,
That
that's
should
right,
be
wrong, or
paid.
different, whether you wanna pay it or not. It's a bill that's probably not, that's an automatic bill that has to be paid because it's
Right.
probably still within his budget
Right.
at that time, I would guess. I don't think he's over budget yet, is he? Is he? Well, I take that back.
There you go.
Well, he's not over budget,
gotta
but
be
he's
paid.
projected
Well,
over budget.
Oh,
That's
well,
not where it comes out
It
anyway.
doesn't
You
come
got
out of
what
his
I'm saying.
budget anyway.
It could be.
That's state's attorney.
State's attorney.
Oh, state's
Yeah,
attorney?
that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
no, he's
Jeff,
not.
he's not
No,
over.
He's not over budget.
ISIS bill's not over budget that I
No,
know
we're
of.
fine.
But, and so if it's out of there and he as that department head says he submitted it, I assume all department heads just submit those.
No, he didn't submit it. He probably didn't even know anything about it.
Oh, yes, he does.
Yes, he
Anyway,
They'll be paid sooner or later, right?
does. State's attorney looked it over.
Okay.
He was sent it. Remember, he
Not
said,
been
well, I
right, we talked.
hadn't told anybody it's okay, but it's okay.
So why did we vote on it and we voted no?
I don't know. I can't tell you that, except that there's a couple folks here that were trying to send a message. I mean, it was a legitimate bill that needed to
My
be
comment
paid.
was, it may not, they didn't think I was in the final bill.
I didn't know why you voted no.
That was what I heard.
But that's your
okay.
right.
That's why
So
we
it is a
vote.
final bill.
Nothing wrong with that. That's why you vote.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's why you do it.
So it's gotta be paid sooner or later.
So now we're spending all this time trying to figure out how to rectify it.
That's okay.
Yep.
Everybody got their opinion. That's good. news.
Any other questions on
There
the
is.
agenda of the board meeting?
Yeah,
okay.
It looks fairly
actually,
light.
That's what I
actually,
was a little worried about.
Alan, you and I could pay the bill.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, it's a demand
You
check,
and
just
I-
like we've done on
We
Yeah, no,
we have
that's-
the authority to pay that bill if
Yeah.
you wanna do
a, I
that.
don't wanna be bumped in the back of the head though, so.
You have the authority to sue us.
Pay the bill.
We can discuss, that'll be a good thing for discussion on Wednesday.
Anything else?
I vote yes.
You're on stage.
I asked if anybody had any other questions on the agenda.
It's scary that there's nothing more than just this listed.
That's it.
It'll be short.
How we doing on, we got you here in good stuff, elections are coming up, everything falling in place
I
like.
just received the ballot proof last Friday. It's Friday, so this morning we are proofing the ballot, and soon we'll have ballots ready. The end of the month, I forget the date, but end of the month, we gotta be ready for absentee voting. That's coming up quick.
Is it past timer for a circuit clerk, or you still have to wait on?
Oh no, that's a done deal.
Yeah, that was 2-3 weeks ago, wasn't
Yeah.
it? 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago.
But both parties have,
Both parties had ample, the
Yeah.
same amount of time.
Yes.
And only one party responded.
How many candidates do you have?
One. Sandy.
So when can people start voting early? Or is that number sticking, or that sticking in your head yet?
It's
Yeah.
it's either the
I know
end
they
of
got two
September.
different-
Yeah, you can vote each person absentee. End of September, 1st of October.
I looked that up, somebody asked me, I noticed there were like two different dates, which I didn't
Yeah,
understand.
you get into that early voting and absentee
They vote,
voting
yeah.
and grace period voting.
Yeah, okay.
And our vendor says just make it all in-person absentee if they walk into the courthouse.
Right, and it's roughly October 1.
Yeah, same thing.
Mr. Allen said he had something to add to this conversation.
We had our multi-township meeting this weekend, and I had a chance to talk with Dale. As a township supervisor, he got the same invoice that we did from Rides. Rides is back to sending out, or the mass transit, illegal invoices to townships, trying to get them to pay an invoice for services. And if you don't read the cover letter, they call it a contribution. But it comes in as an invoice and it's illegal, and townships are not obligated to pay that, nor do they have the statutory authority to pay that. So you might share that with your townships, that if you get a bill from Rides, you don't have to pay it. And a lot of them do just because they think they have to. Thank you.
Thanks, I'm gonna call my supervisor up, tell her.
Anything else?
While we're on that subject, Mr. Allen brought up something that's piqued my interest a little bit. Says that there's money to be made from that. What are we going to, I mean, I thought we turned that over to a kind of like a contractor, for lack of a better term, that's based in Southern Illinois. And that they got some of the vehicles, and allegedly, I thought they were getting some of the money to run it, and then what we're gonna do as a county is contribute money to that, and they're gonna provide a service. That's not correct.
We're not contributing anything to it.
Okay, well, why do we still have the vehicles running around the county giving people rides then?
Because they get the
They get the
state or federal money that.
They get all
we-
that money that's sitting there to control.
Yeah.
And when it's all ironed out, I personally believe those 2 buses that we gave to them are coming back. The property that was given back to, Pedco is coming back, or they're gonna have to cut a check for the current retail price at the time that they bought it from Rides.
Well, where do we make money on the deal?
Well, there's a lot of federal grant opportunities there. Transportation is a big financial thing that they're throwing money at, and there's a huge opportunity to bring jobs right here into the county and control it locally through those programs. The last board didn't manage or oversight anything, the last mass transit board. And with proper oversight and management, there's a heck of an opportunity. That's why Rides leapfrogged over Clark County to take this off of our hands because of the issues. It was a great opportunity, but they didn't legally do it. Clark County is not legally dissolved theirs, so therefore the annexation of this one, that can't happen unless it happens in Clark, because it has to touch each county that they do it to. And according to the state, it's still not legally dissolved. There's been no notification to the Secretary of State, and the property's not been dissolved in accordance with the law. It's federal and state money, and there's a lot of it there for that operation.
We had, or Edgar County and Clark, I guess, had at one time, it was either $1 million or $3 million to build a building. And they had bought property from Pedco down there to build a building, and then the thing just stood still for a while.
I've been hearing things that, I don't know how true they are, if it's just rumors, but there's some rumblings that they bought the Ford building down here.
They're wanting to, and
They're
they
wanting
will
to.
as soon as the money gets released.
Rides wants to.
Oh, so there's not been any transaction take place from that?
Not yet. When it happens, you'll see me taping the removal of that plaque, that stone plaque out front.
So who needs to dissolve this?
Well, Clark County, their resolution didn't dissolve, and they're kind of taking the same position as you guys are. Well, there's no rush on this, we want our money first, and they haven't gotten their check. You guys got your check. Clark County hasn't gotten theirs. And the more they've looked into it, the more they realized they got hoodwinked. So, I don't know what they're gonna do.
Is Rides trying to get the money that, that last check that we've got that
Sure, they're
deposit?
trying to want it.
Well, we got part of it back.
Right, are they trying to get it? Have they made any official?
No,
And
they've
I
made no
bet you they
official.
won't.
I talked to King Sutton, and his opinion is that Bryson isn't even gonna ask for it anyway.
No,
Of course, that's what I thought he told me, he could have said.
He said that what? But they're,
but they're not gonna ask for it.
That's what I thought I heard him say, but I could have heard him wrong.
And The state said it's your money. I mean, you talked to the guy from the state, didn't you, Jeff? I think he made a pretty clear case that, just like we said a year ago, it belongs to this county.
He said that also, I'll let Jeff tell, but they didn't have a right to sell that ground.
That's
That's
correct.
right.
But did they have a right to buy it?
Yeah. Mass Transit had a right to buy it, but in order to sell property, there's strict guidelines they have to follow. They didn't follow those.
There was no auction,
No public notice, no nothing. It was just,
and the money was still, even if they'd done all that, was due to come back to the county.
right.
It did
So
not.
whatever it was, $15,000 or whatever.
The problem now is
Cost
it
was.
belongs to NAL.
So what did they sell it to NAL for? Because they knew that was part of it.
I don't know what they sold.
75,000.
I don't know.
Plus
Well,
some
what did they originally buy it for, Petco?
15,000,
And
that's
what
what
did
Petco bought it back for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they bought it, if they sold it to NAL for
Well,
75, then the county.
I understand what you're saying, but there's also a side of me saying like they may have done that, like, okay, we thought something was coming into our area.
Yeah, but I
We'll
don't
sell
know.
them
That
this.
doesn't,
I don't know that we can do it legally.
I understand. I
I
understand. all that,
understand the
but what I'm
concept that
saying-
they did, but if it
Yeah.
isn't legal.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of, you know, like there, and like, what I was wondering, like, if they sold it to them thinking, okay, we got another building going in there, that's a great deal, then also Ryan says, we're not gonna do that. And so they buy it back, okay, we'll just buy it back from the same thing. I mean, I understand why that would have done it, so that you could resell it to somebody else for whatever else, so. I
My
understand
question
that.
then is, are we going to jeopardize the RIDE program for our seniors and people that really need it by doing something wrong here? I want to keep as much money as possible, I don't want to,
It won't jeopardize, they'll have the service.
the thing is, we may not have the option. It doesn't matter whether we do or we don't.
well, I'm not saying give the money back, I'm not.
No.
I'm just saying, I don't want them to say, well,
They can't,
So long.
they're bound by law because they took the federal money.
The state person that has communicated with Jeff has also said that, that probably the vans are
are ours.
ours, right?
Well, I remember when the sheriff wanted one and we told him no,
Right.
and that was wrong apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Well, based on what
Right,
we were,
just telling us.
yes,
Right.
we may not have done our due diligence, but be that as it may,
But in common sense, was that, I mean, it's being utilized for a greater good, isn't it?
Yeah, still sitting at the jail.
Try to set it, well, I didn't mean it to come out that way, I'm not
Well, I know.
well, it's not
criticizing.
in private
Well, no.
use.
Right, I mean, somebody's getting, somebody's hauling
Yeah.
people that need
It's
a
being used
ride.
every day,
They're quasi.
rather than once a
Right.
That's halfway.
Yeah, quasi, yeah, careful.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wouldn't get used by the sheriff, I'm just saying that it's not just sitting somewhere rusting.
Right.
They're gonna sell them. They said that was their plan to go to smaller like vans, I
They
forget what
got
you call
some
more
them.
efficient.
Micro vans or whatever the term is, because they're more
Small vans.
efficient. They wouldn't be keeping the buses anyway.
Nobody on this board is involved, it's been, well, that was an issue too, wasn't it? It's illegal for one of us to sit on that board.
Yes,
Okay, so
Just
we,
like the
But there
mayor
was.
shouldn't be sitting on that.
but there was one on it from this board.
The
The mayor.
No, that board doesn't exist. The
Right.
rides board, we have King Sutton on it.
Yeah, you guys appointed King to that board.
Mhm.
So if you wanna go to that meeting, you gotta go about 3 hours south.
Gotta drive to Robinson and go to their offsite
Or, yeah, that one.
telecommunication connection.
Are you,
I'm sorry, yes. I'm
no,
not-
I, no,
I
I
just
mean
want
that
to,
at
I
all.
don't
mean,
understand, I
do you
don't
have a clear
understand
understanding
this. I
of
just
where we're
didn't
at?
want to jeopardize, I think RIDE is a good thing. I see it being used every day and I see the people that are getting on it, I'm sure need it. I just don't want to mess that up, so.
You have anything else? Do we have any reason for a closed session?
Nope.
If not, I didn't entertain a motion to adjourn.
Three years.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor with the usual sign.
Yeah,
So you'll know.
He didn't-
He didn't say there was a.
the dog meeting.
He simply
Plenty
said,
of time to do it.
go to the state. And find out, called him right afterwards and told him.
Have lunch before the dog meeting?
You'll be able to make it.
Make it there.
Never said anything.
I've got seed to sell.
Go to the state.
See,
I'm putting in my fall
Which is what we did.
Seed to sow.